Good morning, everybody. I'm San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria. And before we begin this morning, David, I'm looking for Erica Pinto. Where is Eric? Is Chairwoman Pinto here? There she is. Okay, she's hard to miss. I'm a huge fan of our chair from the Hamul Indian Village. She'll be providing us with land acknowledgement and native blessing this morning. Chairwoman Pinto, please come forward.
Halka. Good morning, everybody. That means hello in our native language. I do appreciate the invitation here to start us off in a good way with a land acknowledgement and a blessing. My dad is an elder of our tribe, and he's parking right now, but I'm going to go ahead and start without him. Today, we're joined on land. We're gathered on land that is of the Kumeyaay traditional territory. We were stewards of this land with a profound and endearing relationship to the ocean, valleys, mountains, and streams on what we now call San Diego. The land has sustained our ancestors long before European contact. Our people prospered and survived with what foods the land and seas offered. I hereby acknowledge that we are standing on the beautiful traditional territory of the Kumeyaay people, who are the original caretakers of this region. It is here that we practice our ceremonies, songs, and dances that continue to this day. Every day we pay our respects to our strong, resilient relatives, past, present, and future, and recognize the legacy and many contributions made. We honor the many ways our people's culture and traditions continue to have significant impacts that remind us about the sacred and spiritual relationship that exists today. Thank you. I brought some sage to clear the land. I know today's a groundbreaking. It's a very special day for all of us. I'm going to start with this sage, but I'm going to offer a blessing in my dad's place, and he's going to come here anytime now. But anyway, Creator, my Ha, join us today as we gather to break ground on a park that honors the community and those who suffer illness. Creator, I ask that you surround us and give us healing. I ask that you protect everybody who is here. Protect our communities from hate. Fill our communities with tolerance and respect for one another as we go through life. Creator, I thank you for another day. I thank you for gathering us here. Make sure everybody goes home safe today. Hug your loved ones. Hug your parents. Creator, I ask you to please honor everyone here. And I'm going to go around and I'm going to have this sage around the dirt. Thankfully, I didn't wear my heels today. But Creator, thank you for another beautiful day. We are grateful. Thank you.
Of course, no. Let's give it up for Chair Pinto and her dad. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for helping us start this the right way, and appreciate you being here today. Joining me this morning are a number of other folks I want to acknowledge. State Assembly Member Chris Ward is here. Give it up for Chris Ward, everybody. City Council Member Stephen Whitburn. And the co-chairs of the San Diego AIDS Memorial Task Force, Nicole Murray Ramirez and Catherine Stewart Faulkner. I also want to acknowledge this is a city project, and we have some incredible city staff who are with us today. Two of our city leaders are with us that I want to acknowledge. Rania Amon, who is the director of the city's engineering and capital projects, and many members of her ENCP team. Rania, where are you at? There you are. You didn't know she builds the infrastructure in this town, and she's working really, really hard. And when Rania's involved, good things happen. So Rania, thank you. Another important city leader here is Andy Field, our parks director. Andy's right here. He and his team at Park and Recreation take what Rania builds and then puts it to work for all of you to enjoy. So those two city leaders, as well as the city staff who are present, thank you to each and every one of you for what you do to make this city work. And last but certainly not least, the members of our AIDS Memorial Task Force and other community members who worked over many, many years to make this project possible. Can we give a round of applause for our task force and the community volunteers who are present with us today? So let me be explicit. Today is a long day in coming. A long, long time in coming. And I'm so proud that we're finally able to be together on this important land to get this done. We are here today in Bankers Hill to finally break ground on the long-awaited Olive Street Park and San Diego's first AIDS Memorial. I will keep my comments a bit brief because you're going to hear from some great San Diegans, most of whom will speak briefly, and then there'll be Nicole, who'll go on for a while. I just want to acknowledge, as I look across this audience and the large number of folks behind me, it gives you a sense of how desperately wanted this project has been for such a long time. While we think about the fact that HIV and AIDS is a manageable condition these days, that was not always the case. And that for many folks who are still living with the disease or still living with the pain of the loss from the disease, where we recognize there's many people for whom HIV and AIDS is a very important thing, and we need a place for folks to come together to really recognize and live that out. What we will have here is a beautiful public park for the people of Bankers Hill to enjoy. But we'll also have a very sacred place where folks can come to remember, to grieve, to celebrate, and to move forward. And so this is a very important day, and I think everyone who's been a part of this, and you're going to hear this morning from a number of people who have been very critical to the development of this park and this memorial. First among them this morning is our representative up in Sacramento, a man who worked hard on this project when he served on the San Diego City Council representing Council District 3. I'll ask you to put your hands together for Assembly Member Chris Ward. Assembly Member?
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and it is an absolute pleasure to be here in Bankers Hill this morning to celebrate this groundbreaking of both our Regional AIDS Memorial and, of course, the Olive Street Park, something that's been more than 30 years in the making. I want to thank our mayor, Councilmember Whitburn, our co-chairs of that AIDS Memorial Task Force, Nicole Murray Ramirez and Catherine Stewart Faulkner. And I know we have with us some of the descendants of the Ford, McKee, and Woods families who donated this land to the city back in 1909, specifically for the purpose to be a public park. We have residents of the communities of Bankers Hill and greater uptown neighborhoods, and all of those you see with us, both behind me and then also behind you, who have been adamant about supporting those living with HIV and AIDS in our community, and recognize that through their protests and their advocacy and the care that they are able to provide for loved ones and the refusal to be silenced, that we are here today to properly remember those that we have lost in the struggles for this epidemic. This project has come a long way from my days in the city council, and of course even predated some of my time was there between 2017 and 2020. The political will and the community will to keep this on track was unprecedented, and I'm just grateful for all those that never lost faith. If it hadn't been for many of those members that realized that the city had listed this lot as a surplus property back in 2004, this area might look a lot different. I remember very clearly my time as a council member and also as a member of the Uptown Planners how park deprived we are here in our neighborhoods and how we need to look for every opportunity to be able to add that recreational value as well. I'm so glad that this groundbreaking is here today as well. And of course, for our mayor, then council member Todd Gloria, who led the effort in his time as the council member for District 3, for lighting the flame at the city and proposing and having the AIDS Memorial right here at this location. And I also want to call out two of my former staff members who are on to bigger and better things now in their time in the greater civic space here. Brittany Bailey and Tyler Renner behind us helped to really keep this on track. They were vital for the outreach to our community and to be able to help voice the community's interests as we were helping to fine-tune a lot of the final decision-making. And we know that this didn't come without its challenges and barriers. There were so many community conversations about where to locate an AIDS memorial. But as I stand here, as much as I did, several years ago as well, to think about this spot, and particularly the canyon space behind us, how reflective and serene and peaceful it is going to be. It's going to be an asset for all those who want to be able to come here and to remember and to reflect and to pay tribute to so many San Diegans. As the mayor had mentioned, we think about this as a manageable disease today, but we are not going to forget that we have lost more than 8,000 San Diegans to this epidemic. Medical advancements have made it possible to slow down the transmission and to stay healthy and even become undetectable. The World Health Organization, of course, reflects that about 38 million people worldwide are living with HIV today. And of course, that's why we think about on December 1st every year, World AIDS Day, the advancements that we must do to be able to help all those, particularly those that don't have access to cutting-class medications and support that they need to also live a healthy and productive life. For a look ahead, this legacy of activism that stemmed from the epidemic provided us with a blueprint for mobilization that saved lives during the monkeypox outbreak. It was because of that shared history of advocacy in our community that we prevented another major epidemic that could have devastated our community and beyond. So today is a great day. I'm so looking forward to this construction. It is, of course, important to have our AIDS Memorial finally breaking ground. It's also important to make sure that we have this community asset that's going to serve the greater Uptown community as well. And we will be back in short time to be able to celebrate that groundbreaking. And I'm just so grateful for all those advocates that kept us on track and those that brought us here today. Thank you very much. And with that, we have somebody that finally also helped to bring District 3 to this very, very special day. Very honored to be able to introduce the council member for District 3, Stephen Whitburn.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember Ward. Good morning, everybody. Buenos dias. You could not ask for a more beautiful, sunny San Diego Friday morning for this morning's groundbreaking. And it is truly a delight to be here on this occasion. Great to see so many people here. I'm honored to be here to take part in this historic moment today. And I want to thank Mayor Gloria and Assemblymember Ward for their leadership on this project. And of course, a heartfelt thank you to Nicole Marie Ramirez and Catherine Faulconer and Susan Jester for their years of effort that have gotten us to this point. Thank you to the entire AIDS Memorial Task Force for your countless hours of work and dedication. This would not have been possible without you. This memorial will serve as a permanent testament to the resilience, courage, and compassion of those affected by AIDS in our community, and to the tireless work of those who have dedicated their lives to ending this epidemic. As we gather here today, we remember the loved ones who have passed, and we pay tribute to the strength and determination of those who are still fighting. This memorial will serve as a place of solace and healing and remembrance for generations to come. But it is not enough to commemorate those whom we have lost. We must also renew our commitment to ending this epidemic once and for all. This epidemic has left profound losses on both sides of the border, of course, so to share a bit of that in Spanish, nos reunimos hoy para recordar a los seres queridos que hemos perdido y rendimos homenaje a la fuerza y determinación de los que siguen luchando. Este sitio conmemorativo servirá como un lugar de consuelo y de recuerdo para las futuras generaciones. Pero no basta con simplemente conmemorar a los que hemos perdido. Tenemos que reanudar nuestro compromiso para acabar con esta epidemia de una vez por todas. We must continue to work together to raise awareness, end stigmatization, and provide support to those in need. So let us break ground on this memorial with a sense of purpose and determination. Let us build this memorial not just as a tribute to the past, but as a symbol of hope for the future. And let us come together as a community united in our fight against AIDS. Tenemos que seguir trabajando juntos para crear conciencia, para acabar la estigmatización y para proveer apoyo a los que más lo necesitan. Así que comencemos este homenaje con un sentido de propósito y determinación, que sirva no solamente como un tributo al pasado, pero como un símbolo de esperanza para el futuro. Estamos unidos en la lucha contra el SIDA. Gracias y espero que este sitio traiga consuelo, esperanza y un mejor futuro para todos aquellos que los visitan. May this memorial bring comfort, healing, and a brighter future to all who visit it. Thank you very much.
Great job. Two more speakers, and then we will get to the groundbreaking. It gives me great pleasure to introduce a woman who was our city's first lady for 7 years, a woman who May was voluntold to do this work as being co-chair, but as a member of the city council, when she accepted that responsibility, she did it with the gusto, the generosity, and the tirelessness that is why we're here today. So would you please welcome our city's former first lady and the co-chair of the San Diego AIDS Memorial Task Force, Catherine Stewart Faulkner.
As the only non-politician, I'll keep it short. I was honored to co-chair this group to bring this much-needed memorial to San Diego. I have so much respect for our committee, and the 8 years of work went to the realization of this day. Although I lived through the height of the epidemic as an outsider, the stories I have heard firsthand from fellow members about the treatment of those with AIDS during that time are unbelievably horrific. Suffering and being shamed should never happen together. As a mother, I can't imagine the pain of losing a child to such a horrible disease. Women and children were victims of AIDS as well, and now everyone will have a place to mourn and celebrate all the lives affected by AIDS. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Catherine. All right, now for the moment you've been waiting for. I'm not saying you won't have to go to church on Sunday after this speech, but you may not have to go to church on Sunday after this next speech. But I will just simply say that, a lot for the HIV/AIDS community, as well as the LGBTQ community, as well as communities of color. The progress that we've made in San Diego are directly attributable to this leader. Nicole often will give you a phone call at any hour of the night with an idea that might sound crazy because it's late, but when you reflect upon it, you realize that it's brilliant and, more importantly, needs to be done. Nicole shared with me his vision for a AIDS memorial many years ago, and it set apart a series of dominoes that led us directly to this day. We know that when Nicole's on the job, the job's going to get done. And Nicole, on behalf of a grateful city, thank you for creating the circumstances to allow us to come together today to finally get this project done. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome the co-chair of the San Diego AIDS Memorial Task Force, City Commissioner Nicole Murray Ramirez.
Good morning. Buenos dias. Oh, you can do better than that. You're not in this hot thing. I thought it was going to be cold today. First of all, I want to introduce some of the task force members. You know that saying, it takes a village. It certainly did. Our vice chair, so if you could just come up here or raise your little hand. Oh, come up here. Susan Jester. Jim Cassidy, Jim Lennox, Carolina Ramos, the Honorable Jeff Marston, former state assemblyman, Rabbi Lori Koski, the Reverend Penny Bridges, Michael Lochner, Jay Sheehan, Bob Lehman, Big Mike Phillips, Eric Delatorre, Sharon Wagner, and Terry Cunningham. Now, you should really applaud them because they had to put up with me, and that should get. First of all, we of the San Diego AIDS Memorial Task Force want to express our deep appreciation and commitment to the residents of Bankers Hill in this neighborhood for letting us share a part of what is going to be a most beautiful park, and that we will respect this park and this beautiful neighborhood and its families. Yes, it has taken almost 40 years, 3 compassionate mayors, dozens of dedicated members of the task force, and dozens of hardworking mayoral and city staff that have made this day possible. Finally, becoming a reality. Indeed, as I said, it took a village. Like many of you here, I have been involved with the issue of HIV/AIDS since those early dark years of the 1980s. Yes, those dark years when some Americans and politicians proposed that people with AIDS be branded with special tattoos, that people with AIDS be all put on a desert island. Those dark years when the LGBT community was further stigmatized as we became the focus of mass hysteria, fake news articles, and stories. Our community suffered with overwhelming cases of violence, discrimination, and attacks, and hate crimes across this country and indeed the world. Sadly, San Diego County was no different, with many doctors, ministers, public officials, friends, neighbors, and even many families refusing to have anything to do with anyone living with AIDS. Yes, including their own family members. Many of us here today well remember those dark years when going to funerals and memorials every week became a way of life. As a Catholic, I remember asking the then Bishop of San Diego to say a Mass for those who had died of AIDS. He refused. Until then, the late Assemblyman Peter Chacon interceded, and the bishop reluctantly did so and said the Mass. Many religious leaders even refused to bear burial ceremonies for people who had passed from AIDS. I remember our many AIDS protests. I remember Albert Bell of ACT UP. And yes, I remember many unsung heroes in those early dark years, especially the women. Yes, our lesbian sisters. Women like Lori Leonard and her mother, who started Mama's Kitchen, Susan Jester, the founder of San Diego AIDS Walk, Ruth Hendricks, the founder of Special Delivery, Bridget Wilson, Cheryl Clark of the Union Tribune that awoken in her articles about AIDS in San Diego, and so many others I remember. I remember the drag queens in the Imperial Court and the endless benefit shows. The leather community, bars and owners like Lou and Carol Arco, Chris Shaw, Clint Johnson. I remember David Farrell and the Metropolitan Community Church, who helped bury so many of our community members. The Unitarian Universal Church and St. Paul's Episcopal Cathedral. John Ciascio, Frank Storetti, Ben Dillingham, Darrell Edwards, Rick Ford, Gene Burkhardt, Paul King, Bill Beck, Dr. Brad Truex, Dr. Chris Matthews, Terry Cunningham, Ermin Munoz, Francesca, Dr. Hal Frank, Dr. Keith Farrell, Greg and Alma Vosick. So many, many countless heroes, including David Farrell and Tony Sempella. In closing, I must acknowledge Mayor Susan Golding, who established the first Memorial AIDS Task Force and the Regional Task Force on AIDS, and she was greatly responsible for the AIDS quilt visiting San Diego. This was in the 1980s, and Mayor Golding received more hate than you can ever imagine. I must acknowledge Kevin Faulkner, who not only a week after his election accepted the national co-chair of Mayors for Marriage Equality, but committed to me to reestablish the San Diego AIDS Memorial Task Force. And our fierce former First Lady of San Diego, Catherine Stewart Faulkner, who accepted the co-chair position of the task force and has dedicated over 8 years to this cause and putting up with me. Public servants like Jeff Marston, S. Drusma, Wes Pratt, John Hartley, and Todd Gloria, who's been committed to the issue of HIV/AIDS long before he was elected mayor. All San Diegans have always been able to count on Todd Gloria, especially those in need. This memorial will be indeed sacred ground for many of us. As you all know, many who died of AIDS died alone with the complete rejection of their blood family. But we, their chosen family, will always remember them in our hearts. But now also at this beautiful park to be. Finally, a place to remember and celebrate the lives of almost 9,000 who have died of AIDS. Let us always remember that, and that there is still no cure for AIDS. From the bottom of my heart, God bless you all.
Another round of applause, please, for Nicole Murray Ramirez. As he often does, Nicole speaks for so many of us, particularly remembering the history. Sometimes we forget, but Nicole never lets us forget, and that's why today's so important. I want to wrap up because it's hot. This is sun. Remember, it's just February, everybody. But I want to remind you, today is just the start. This is the groundbreaking. And if you know your mayor, you know I like a groundbreaking, but I much prefer a ribbon cutting. We will do that in about 2 years' time. God willing, not too much rain. I encourage folks to check out the renderings of what will be built here, so you have a sense. And I encourage you to walk the site. What you will have here in about 2 years' time is a public park, as our parks often do, bring people here, a play set, a place for folks to gather, and then a beautiful deck that will be back here that I think will be a wonderful, wonderful contemplative place for those of us who've lost folks to AIDS to come and to remember and to reflect. I envision gatherings of individuals who come, families who want to come, events like World AIDS Day potentially being held here, an opportunity to activate this park to make sure that it does what parks are meant to do, which is to bring people together and uplift the neighborhood. I want to repeat the words of so many other folks who are here. Extreme gratitude to the people of Bankers Hill for allowing us to locate this regional asset here in their neighborhood. A reminder that Bankers Hill has been in the fight against AIDS for a very long time. Our city's first AIDS hospice, the Truax House, was just around the corner from here. And it still stands today as a proud representation of what this city did for people living with HIV and AIDS as many as 40 years ago. This community has been a part of the solutions for HIV and AIDS, and it's only right that this community continue to be able to reflect that long, proud history of standing up for those in need. I want to conclude simply by saying thank you to all of you for being here today. We do a lot of groundbreakings, a lot of them for parks. You're welcome. But as we do that work, I have not ever seen a crowd quite this large for a groundbreaking. A lot for ribbon cuttings, a lot of kids wanting to jump on the play sets and have a good time. But I hope that the media understands, and for those of you that maybe are not as directly touched by this, that you really understand the depths and the importance of this particular day, what this site will mean for so many, and for why we fought so hard to get this done. Again, I welcome you back here in a few years' time so that we can celebrate what will come. There will be recognition of many of the organizations that Nicole mentioned. There will be public art, and again, that wonderful observation deck. I think this will become an iconic structure in our city, one that is worthy of those 8,000 San Diegans that we lost to this virus. So again, thank you for being here today, and I invite folks to join us for the ceremonial groundbreaking. Thank you all again. Grab some dirt, lift it up. Don't hit me, Nicole. Okay. All right, everyone, smile, get those photos. And how about we do a countdown from 3? 3, 2, 1. Come up and take your own pictures. Be a part of history, everybody. Come and do your own, okay?